First thing is that the word status quo it's not a god to be served. Certain status quos are good and others are not. In the Middle East, when we say status quo, oftentimes we think things are going to remain as they were. But the truth is that there is no status quo on the Temple Mount for Jews or Muslims. The Muslims push ahead, create new mosques on the Temple Mount, and take over more and more of the area. And the Jews, too. The Jews want to pray on the Temple Mount. The Jews have always wanted to pray on the Temple Mount. The idea that such a status quo should be kept, the Jews should be not allowed to pray in their holiest place, to move their lips. It's an absurdity. It's really some kind of bygone era Islamic fundamentalist law that the state of Israel upholds. And so that has actually been breaking down. And as I see in the pictures that you're showing, indeed, and I'm one of the people who goes up there and who prays up there, it's the most normal thing in the world. This is not in order to start up with Muslims. It's not in order to create a fight. It's in order to do the most basic and natural thing, which is to pray on the Temple Mount. So the status quo should shift. It is shifting. It makes sense. And now bullies on the jihadist side, on the Hamas side, et cetera, they are trying to use that as an excuse for why they are committing violence against our police.
Let's get to that in a minute
and our army, et cetera.
In terms of the events of what's happened, I want to also bring in Yariv on this topic of status quo. And Yariv, to you, what has it generated? The status quo that Israel has largely maintained for decades and decades here. What has it led to? And should it be maintained?
We need to look at the context, and it's not just a religious issue, it's a political issue, it's a national fight between the Palestinians and Israelis and between the settlers and the Hamas, because both sides are trying to challenge each other on the Temple Mounts, and this is the real story. The status quo is changing because today we see more and more mostly right-wing extremists that are looking for going up to the mountain. Even if the rabbis are still saying that it's not allowed, they are going there. And they are doing it not just because of religious aspects, they are doing it because of political aspects as well. And the Palestinians understand it. They see it as a provocation and as a threat, because they are seeing what happened in other places, and they're saying today it will be 100, next day it will be 1,000, the day after it will be close to Muslim and open only for Jews. And this is the biggest fear, because for the Palestinian, the Temple Mount is a religious site, but also a national symbol of sovereignty. We need to find a solution for the conflict between Israel and Palestinian. And once there will be a political solution, then we will be able to create also a religious solution that maybe will be easier for Jewish people to come to pray in this mosque in the Temple Mounts once the political conflict will be solved.
Teeing it up with why, again, should Jews not be allowed to pray on the Temple Mount still today, given everything going on?
Because we are in the middle of conflict and there is no solution yet for this conflict. There is, but no one wants to adopt it, or not enough people are willing to adopt it. And because today we know that the Temple Mount is a Muslim place, is a Muslim mosque, and it's a symbol of the sovereignty of Palestine on parts of the land of Palestine. And when you are touching this explosive, you are going to pay a price, because when you are touching it, you are using your force. Why Jewish people can come in much bigger numbers? Because the Israeli government allowed them, and because we have the force. And when you are using force and you call it the law, the people that are not part of the country, the Palestinians that are not citizens of Israel, they are saying, no, we think otherwise, but we don't have a voice, we cannot vote. So the reaction for force will be force, and then we are risking life of Israeli and Palestinian. I think that we should put aside the provocation. We need to understand that the situation is not perfect. I prefer that there will be freedom of religious, but freedom of religious and freedom of prayer will come only when the occupation ends and there will be a peaceful solution, two-state solution for both people, including a solution in Jerusalem. Then we will be able to talk about religious.
When Molotov cocktails are flying out of the window of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and what are Israeli police to do? And Rabbi, bring your thoughts on this. Again, coming back to, did Israel make errors in these last weeks? Was there a different
As I said before, the only errors we made is that we weren't hard enough with terrorists. Now, when you speak to Arabs always say to you, when you guys don't take care of these terrorists, they come and terrorize us in our society as well. You know, the jihad isn't just anti-Israel. It's anti-decent Arabs who want a decent life, with Israel. And so the only thing that we didn't do enough is that we didn't arrest enough people. We didn't make sure that they got jail sentences. And also the prime minister limited a Jewish prayer on the Temple Mount for the last 10 days of Ramadan. It's succumbing to bullying. And really the stuff that Yariv says, it's fancy cowardice. That's all it is. Fancy sounding cowardice. It's like we shouldn't be allowed to pray on the Temple Mount. We should succumb to the rules of the jihad on the Temple Mount, the holiest place for Jewish people. He calls it a provocation. This is where we're from. This is the heart of the
It's not provocation. And you know what? You are thinking only about yourself, because you know that for your action there is reaction, and you don't care for the Israeli security. You don't care for the rest of the Israeli people. You only care for yourself. And people that are saying, I'm allowed to do whatever I want, these are the people that are making troubles.
Well, Yariv, at this point, I want to put this question to both of you, essentially. I'll start with Yariv here. Given the fractured Palestinian leadership, the extremely hostile Hamas, which appears to be the leading leadership body amongst Palestinians, most popular at least, what can Israel do at this point? What should Israel do at this juncture?
Israel has a huge effect on the Palestinian public opinion. If Israel will be ready to negotiate with the Palestinian also about this very sensitive issue, if Israel will be ready to end the occupation, even by statements saying let's resume negotiation, let's give the Palestinian Authority power over East Jerusalem, this will be a blow to Hamas. But when we are not allowing the Palestinian Authority to be in East Jerusalem, but we are not giving the people of East Jerusalem Israeli citizenship, so they are between, they are not Palestinians but they are not Israelis. So to this vacuum the Hamas is getting power and getting into this vacuum, and we are paying the price. If the face of Israel will be a peaceful one, Hamas will become weaker. If the face of Israel will be settlers going to the Temple Mounts, using more force, arresting more people, Hamas will get stronger.
What do you say to this, Rabbi Fleisher? I'll give you just a open to respond.
I think that Yariv denies the reality of Palestinian society, which is succumbing to jihadism as an ideology. Jihadism is not about rights. It's not about peace. It's about taking this whole land. Look at the flags that both Hamas and the PLO have. They have all of the land of Israel. Yesterday, the Palestinian Authority's president said that all of the land of Israel is Palestinian and that Jerusalem is their capital. And the bottom line is that they want the whole kit and caboodle. Now, what Yariv wants to do is give it to them piece by piece by piece by piece until they take over the whole thing. And he packages it in the words of security, but it's not security. It's the opposite of security. They're taking over our land. They're taking over, they're threatening us with rockets from here and from here. And with violence here.
This is all fake news. I will tell you.
For the destruction of Israel from the
This
Temple
is
Mount
fake news.
all the time.
This is
fake news. Anybody who can look at a map knows it's not fake news.
People that know the Palestinian society, they know that Palestinian society is becoming less religious and more nationalist. And people that are hearing the PA speakers, including the most popular people, in the most popular politician of the Palestinian that is in Israel jail, Barghouti, they are talking about the two-state solution. They are not talking about one state that will be Palestine. Just a second. And it's true. Let's talk about maps. Let's talk about maps. Maps are talking about the ideal, about the vision, about the dream. I don't know any Israeli textbook that you don't have the West Bank part of Israel. Let's go to Israeli school.
Because it's our land.
Okay, so you see, it's the mirror. It's mirror.
Right.
You're talking about the extremists, but you're the same. And I'm saying you cannot
just said it yourself.
demand from the Palestinian.
You said it yourself.
You cannot demand from the Palestinian to show the map with Israel and Palestine when you are not ready to do it. Once you will do it, you will see the change in the Palestinian as well.
But the Palestinian. This is what they want. They want to destroy Israel.
Let's talk.
You don't want to show that. You just want to hide that and talk about peace. Nobody's talking peace.
You are trying very cleverly. You are trying to avoid reality.
This is my land. This is my Temple
just
Mount.
a second.
I know my security. I know who the bad guys are. And most people in Israel know that you are not part of the consensus.
The reality
is know that two-state solution is not happening. Most people in Israel know that Jews should have rights to
we will see what will happen. But reality is that your neighbors, the Palestinians, they have no citizen rights. They are not citizens of Israel. You are occupying them. You don't care for democracy. You don't care for equality. You don't care for rights. This is the difference between us. You believe in Israel as a Jewish state, and I believe in Israel as a Jewish and democratic state. I'm the real Zionist. You are post-Zionist.
Hamas is for an Islamic state.
Don't talk about the Hamas. I'm talking about me.
Because you don't want to see who the enemies are. You don't want to see.
I want to see about my. I want to look at myself first of all. And you are in favor of the occupation. Say it out loud. And once you will say it and you will do it, you make the Hamas stronger.
At that point, though,
I'm
going to step in here. I'm going to step in at this point here. You both have done an excellent job, I'll say, of highlighting the differences, of highlighting the conflicting narratives, the issues surrounding the debate around Jerusalem. And for that, I thank both of you for coming in here. Rabbi Fleisher, coming to us from Hebron, thank you for your time. And, of course, for your opinions on this, Reeve Oppenheimer as well, both of you, for engaging with each other and keeping it as civil as possible. Appreciate that. Nothing simple about the topic. And, of course, that's why we bring it here today on Zoom In. So thanks for being with us on that as well, viewers. We'll keep dissecting those issues every day.